Okay. So, I bought this cute little thing because I'm gonna try to figure out how to make it sound better. I hope it sounds different. Does it sound better? Do you guys hear the difference? I don't really know how to use anything, but this was only like $7 and I thought it was so cute. Look at it. It makes me feel like I'm about to sing, but I'm not a good singer. Anyways, I'm face calling you today because I've realized something about, a big thing about my personality is my social anxiety. It has made my life very restrictive. Maybe I should not be using that word. But it's almost like growing up in a household that was very strict and being the first child and, a girl to made my parents very overbearing basically, and like they didn't mean it in a bad way. They weren't trying to do it in a bad way. They were just really scared for about everything pretty much. So basically I can't do simple stuff because of my social anxiety, and I think you will connect with me on this too. So I figured, why not talk about it and maybe we can share tips for, going through that. And here, let me move this a little bit. All this new stuff for you guys so you guys can hear me better and you can stand better, but I need to figure shit out. I don't know what I'm doing. So I grew up, like first child, and my parents were right away very afraid of me, going through anything. So they were very, like, I couldn't do a lot of things. It almost felt like the air outside would kill me. That's how bad it was. My parents would not let me go outside very often, and I couldn't go on trips and stuff, and that's pretty much where it came from. I don't think social anxiety is I think it's a learned behavior. Like, I don't think anybody's born being afraid of people. We kind of just pick that up after a while. And in my situation, I remember I was talking to one of my uncle's girlfriend at the time, and I was a child. I think I had just started elementary, and I was talking to her, and I was very outgoing, and she told my mom I was very outgoing, and it was interesting to see a child that was so comfortable to talk to an adult about a movie, like I made eye contact, I was happy. And slowly over the years, after people started criticizing me, it made me less outgoing. I was no longer a happy child, and my parents were very critical of me, especially my father. So that led to, me isolating myself from other people just to avoid further criticism. And, it's one thing to get criticism from people you don't know because they're strangers, but to get it from people that love you and have your best interest at heart, it hits different, you know, and you believe it so much more. So, he didn't know it was damaging me over the years, but it really was. And although it made me very, like, cautious of myself, self-cautious, I would always make sure I was clean. I would always check my teeth, my nose, everything, make sure I looked presentable, but it made me a little too extreme. And it's not a good way to live when you're always constantly thinking of, do I look okay? Am I annoying? And I remember my father, like, I used to carry a bunch of books in my backpack, and that made my back, it got messed up, so I would hunch over a lot. My posture was trash, so, and my dad would pick on me for that. He was trying to get me to, stand straight, but that really did hurt me. And we had this board on the refrigerator, this whiteboard, and I drew my whole family on it because I loved drawing as a child. And I drew everybody, but when I drew myself really ugly. My parents felt really bad about that because I think that was the first time they realized that they were hurting me. They weren't really protecting me anymore. It was more like it was damaging me. So when I got home, I looked at the picture and my mom had erased me and drew me all pretty and stuff. Even drew a kitten with me because I love cats. I've always loved cats. And she told me, no, I told her, why'd you erase me? And she said, because you drew yourself wrong. And that made me so happy. And that fixed me a little bit. And she was always trying to help, me feel better about myself when she realized I wasn't this messed up. Like, I wasn't this imperfect, and you're not supposed to be perfect to begin with. But eventually, when people say so much stuff and they leave, you have already programmed yourself in the way they would criticize you. So to avoid that reprogramming again, I would just start avoiding people. Like, how are they going to damage me if I'm not around them? So, yeah, I no longer wanted to talk to people as much. I was very quiet. I was very afraid that it would happen all over again. And I don't know. It led to that. And then I also, on top of all that, I grew up speaking Spanish only. I didn't speak English, and they just threw me in school. And good luck, That was very traumatic to learn English where nobody knew what I was saying. Like, I remember crying, and nobody understood what I was saying. And when I finally learned some English, I wasn't confident about it. And because we were learning English, me and my siblings were more exposed to English, in school. We learned it faster than my parents did. So it was our job to translate and do an order, all this stuff. And it was very scary having all these eyes on you, and you can barely make eye contact with these people because you're so little, because we were young, and we had to translate the food. And what if we didn't know a word? Our parents, we'd get the order wrong. And that made me very scared of ordering food. And even till now, I'm very scared of ordering food. I get nervous, My eyes look weird. But yeah, so every time it just reminds me back to that. And it's also, once I started getting too embarrassed to order food and make phone calls, everybody just assumed I wouldn't do it. Like, it became a thing where, like, oh, she's not gonna do it because she's too embarrassed. So I was labeled, she's not gonna do it. She avoids it. She avoids stuff that scare her instead of overcoming them, which was my fault. I should have tried to push myself, but I was just too afraid to be embarrassed like this one time, before in the past when it was really bad and I felt like everybody was laughing at me. I would replay it in my head and it would just make me feel like it happened all over again. So everybody in the family labeled me as the person that will not face her fears. And I let it be that way. And that's a big reason why I'm so, anxious around people. So I can't do common things, simple things, because of that. And, like, for example, I can't make phone calls to set appointments and stuff. I can't order food because it embarrasses me. I remember I would just go hungry because I'm just, like, too embarrassed, and I would just eat whatever is at the house. I hate going to cashiers, alone. Like, I don't want to make eye contact. That's scary. It feels like they're reading my mind, and I'll say something dumb in my head, like, oh my gosh, cats should rule the world, or something dumb like that. Or they'll think I'm, I've also noticed, because of my lack of confidence, it's easy for people to treat me worse because they know they can get away with it. Because I'm not a snitch. But I am. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not a Karen, and I think they know that, so I won't, let me talk to your manager. No, like, I'm not. Like, let me avoid your manager because I'm also scared of them. So I'm like the opposite of Karen. Unless I work in that area, then it's like, no, you guys, it's a different story. If I work there, I'm more likely to speak my mind. But if it's like a place retail, I remember I wanted the item a mannequin was wearing. She had my size on. The rest of the sizes were too large. So I asked the lady if she could. I actually got the confidence to ask her, like, I'm just gonna do it. I have to do it. And I asked her, like, hey, the mannequin has my size. My size isn't here. And she said, sorry, we can't take it off the mannequin. We can't do that. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, oh shoot, why did I ask? And I told my brother, dude, I actually asked her, and she said no. He's like, you actually asked her? Because, I'm in that box where, like, you never face your fears. So they were, like, proud of me or whatever. But then he's like, here, I'll try. And he has this natural charm about him where, like, people like him. Like, he gives off good vibes. And I've always looked up to it, but I never got any of it. I hope this is working. If not, you guys can tell me, like, dude, get rid of that thing. It's so annoying. I just think it's so cute. Anyways, so he went and talked to the lady and said, hey, can we get that mannequin's clothing because it's her only size? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, it was a completely different treatment. And I was like, it's probably because of the feeling I give off of, like, I'm too easy to say no to. I give off this feeling of, like, if you say no to me, I won't give you a hard time, and you won't feel guilty about it because I'm such a pushover. And I hate it, but it's how I've been lately. And then my sister, who actually worked in retail, sucks for her. She's been through hell. I could never do it. I'm not strong enough to work in retail. I worked as a waiter, and that was bad enough. But yeah, I never like to give people in retail a hard time. I feel like people are bullies to retail workers for no reason. Like, they can't change policies. Like, they can't change the rules. They're just the messenger, and people give them attitude. But that's a different thing. But anyways, my sister's really good with retail workers because she's been in those shoes. She knows how to talk to them. She's actually has skill. Like, my brother has the charm. She has the experience. So they know how to do it. And sometimes I'll just ask them to help me out because I can't figure it out. They're going to say no to me. And that's why, like, I don't like going to places like that. Like, I'm always, like, with them. Like, they're my bodyguards. And I like to be in that little pack of siblings. If you watch my stories on Instagram, you'll see that I'm almost always with my siblings. We're, like, best friends, and they have no choice. Sucks for them. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, and then even opening doors is embarrassing because I've pushed doors that you have to pull and the other way around, and I'm always like, oh my gosh, this is so I just get embarrassed too quickly. And I'd rather have somebody else, like, when I'm with my little pack, they go in first and then I go in after them. I've always gotten used to walking behind people for that reason, or, like, just not being the first one people see and notice. And I think my dad has a big problem with that. He'd always stop and look at me like, why are you walking behind me? And it's like, because you're criticizing me. I'm hiding from you. So I think that's where I got the habit of walking behind everybody. But I'm comfortable with it. I'm just used to it. What else am I uncomfortable with? Vending machines. I can't use a vending machine if there's people around to see me, because what if the candy or the drink I wanted get stuck? Like, that's embarrassing. People are gonna look at me like, what are you gonna do now? Like, I have to wait till nobody's around. Gasoline, like getting gas for the car. Like, I always have to wait till, like, nobody's around and the gas station is, like, the lights are still on so I can still get gas. Because I swear, every time there's people around, I'm gonna do something stupid. If there's nobody around, I do it perfectly fine. Everything goes smoothly. And even if I do mess up, it's not a big deal because nobody really saw. Like, who's gonna laugh at me? And this really all comes down to, why do I care so much? What people think about, like, why do I care? It's such a stupid way to live life, but I just can't help it. Like, I guess because it's that reprogramming thing where it's like, if somebody thinks of you some way, it might affect me into thinking that of myself. And that's why we need to gain some confidence, because then it won't matter what people think of me. I remember, I think it has to do with, like, if somebody believes something of you, you start believing it more too. If I told you guys, it's like a placebo effect almost. If you tell somebody they're in really good shape, they're more likely to, like, get better, fitter. Or if somebody tells you you're really unhealthy, they're gonna be, like, noticing that. And maybe we can hack it. For example, I was at one of my jobs, I was very quiet. I never really talked. I was very scared to talk. One time, something happened where, like, I knew the job more, I got more comfortable in it, and people left all in one go. People just left, and there's new people. And one of them said that I looked like I was very confident and assertive. And everybody kind of like, yeah, you kind of give off Scorpio vibes. And I was just like, you know what? I will do that. I started channeling, like, assertiveness, and started showing it, because they didn't put me in that shy and pushover box. They put me in the other one, and I started playing that role. Eventually I became that role in that area. Like, every time I was going in for that job, I was acting like that, confident and assertive, and I didn't let anybody walk over me. The managers that knew me when I was quiet would come over and see me acting different, talking, and they were very weirded out. Like, she was just like, very strange. And I remember a lady that knew I didn't talk much would be like, you've changed so much. And I was just like, because I wasn't put in that box. And it made such a difference. But eventually I stopped working there, and I went back to, being quiet and trying not to inconvenience people. And I think that's one of the hacks we could use. It's like, start trying to get out of that box people put you in of who you are. If it's a negative one, if you don't like it. But it's easier to step out of that box if you're not around the people that put you in it in the beginning. Like, if it's a friend group, or in my case, it's my siblings, who know I'm not the type of person to call for appointments, to order food, just go and buy things on my own, drive around. They know I'm not that person, so it's easier for me to act, to be a different role when I'm not around them. Like, if I go to a store alone, I like to channel a different part. Like, I almost channel somebody else. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I really want that shirt, but the mannequin has it. I'll channel my brother and my sister. Her experience talking to retail workers, and then my brother's charm. I remember I went to, like, an ex's family reunion, and it was super awkward. Everybody was, like, not talking and looking at each other. I'm like, I need to channel my brother. What would he do to break the ice? And I remember him saying he eats. And I was like, I'm just going to start eating. I started eating everybody's food, making comments about the food. This is good. And it did break the ice. And it worked, You channel whoever you wish was there to help you. And you kind of almost, it's almost like you're a character in a video game. And it's the same character all the time, because you're always going to be yourself. It's not fake, if you're playing a role. Everybody plays different roles in life. Just don't play the same role for the rest of your life, because it's not going to help you advance, type of thing, I feel like. Yeah. But it's really important, I think, to know that you're not that social anxiety. It's not you, because a lot of the times I lived my life thinking it was part of my personality, like it was just stuck on me. But lately I'm like, I'm not going to accept it. Like, I can change it. I can improve, I remember in school, like, another problem is speeches. Oh my gosh, presentations. As soon as I hear that word, I swear something dies inside of me. I remember the last time I was in school, I was halfway done through a program, And I was trying really hard, and the lady mentioned presentation for a final, and I was so scared. I literally got sick. I remember driving home in the freeway, and I wanted to open my door and jump out because I was that stressed out about it. Thinking now, I'm like, damn, that would have been stupid. What a spaz. But it was that bad. Like, I was so stressed. I hated it. I told myself, like, I'd rather die. So I had a panic attack. My brother and my sister in front of them. I freaked out, had a panic attack, and I dropped out. And you know what the worst part of all this is? It was only 8 people in that class. There was only 8 people that were going to listen to me stuttering about health, because it was about healthcare. And I dropped out. My social anxiety has gotten, it's not even like, it went so bad. And the fact is, like, I never faced it. I never challenged it. Like, I also have a phobia of, like, driving because of a car accident. And the more I avoided it, the worse it got. And I hate that fact that you have to kind of, like, face it. Like, you can't just hope it'll go away, because you'll surprise yourself. Nothing's ever as bad as you think it is. If you think something's going to be really bad, it never is. And at least once it's through, like, it's over with, it's over with. You don't have to keep, the anticipation for something is so much worse than when it actually happens. And that's one of the things we have to do. It's like, if you're socially anxious about one specific thing, a good thing to take your power back is to face it, and as many times as you can, but it has to be you. Nobody can force you to do it. Same with, recovering from an ed. You have to try to recover. You literally have to want to. It has to be you. It can't be somebody else. That's same with social anxiety. You have to face it yourself. And it sucks because it's gonna be hard, but doors will open and you will slowly get out of that box that you made a home, when in reality it's a cage. And I think that's the dangers of having a child, that you overprotect. My parents would overprotect me, and it's like, eventually, my sister and me were like both overprotected because we're women, and they thought women were an easy target, but things can happen to boys too, little boys. That's why it worries me that parents are so careful with their daughters, but what about their sons? But yeah, my parents were very careful with me and my sister, and we weren't allowed to even get haircuts. So now, like, when we would go to salons, my dad wouldn't let me pick what I wanted to get. Like, it had to be the same. It was like a trim. It could only be a trim, and it had to be the same type of haircut as my sister. And even, till this day, I have a hard time going to salons and getting, like, a big haircut or a big change in my hair, because it's just like, it became something I needed to just be comfortable. And it's weird because kids tend to do the opposite sometimes, or the same. So if you overprotect a child, when he finally can be free, he will do what you told him not to do so many times to break free. Like, my sister cuts her hair and dyes it all the time now, and she can't handle having the same look for a while. Whereas for me, I stay the same because, we both react differently to that overprotectiveness. Some people, it's like a puppy in a cage, where it's like, if you finally let the puppy out of the cage, he'll run and never look back. Or the puppy will stay in the cage because it's his home now. And that's what happened to us. But yeah, it hurts people too much of everything. And yeah, I get nervous in salons too. I hate seeing myself in the mirror while they're doing the hair thing. I'm always like, oh my god, I look so ugly. And the small talk too. Another thing is eye contact. I hate keeping eye contact when I'm thinking about it. Like, sometimes I'll lose myself in the conversation, so I won't think about eye contact. It just comes naturally. But if I'm thinking about it, it just becomes so awkward. So yeah. Yeah, I remember my parents told me not to talk to strangers, and I took it too seriously. I wouldn't talk to anybody at all. And now eventually became like, you gotta talk, you gotta be more outgoing, but it was too late. I remember there was a trip for school, an overnight trips, sleepovers. I could not go. Like, the overprotectiveness of my parents were so extreme that I wouldn't be able to go on school trips. And they told me, it was in the woods, like it was like a camping thing. And my dad told me I couldn't go to these trips because there were wolves and they would eat me. And then a year later, my brother was the one who could go to the trip, and he said he could go. All of a sudden, the wolves were gone. And then when my sister could go to the trip, wolves were back. And my little brother could go because wolves were gone. So it was this overprotectiveness and like the sleepovers. We weren't allowed to go to sleepovers. By the time we were, 18 and we could do whatever the hell we wanted, I would go to sleepovers and spend time with friends. I felt so homesick. Like this anxiety to not be home. Where it's like I was programmed to not want to be anywhere and not feel good anywhere. To have this anxiety like crawling on me every day. So it's like I don't think I want to do that to, like I definitely don't want my kids to feel like that in the future. Like when I have any, I don't want them to grow with this anxiety, that follows them everywhere. But it's going to be really, hard because I spent a lot of time with my little brother, and he was the one. I talked to him a lot growing up, and I feel like I kind of did program him to be anxious because I was so anxious. Like I was like, well, we can't do that, we can't do this. This is dangerous, this and that, And he also now he tells me he has anxiety, and I feel like it's my fault, and I really need to stop it. But I just can't help worrying about everything. Like we grew up very religious. Like my father was very into like, religion and the importance of it. But I really think, and I might get a lot of hate from this, but this is just what I think. Religion was made to force people into having morals. Like it really was to force people and make them fear, the consequences later in a different life if you mess up this one. And I really think that's not the right way to do it. You can't force somebody with fear. It's not the right way. And yeah, my dad did the same thing to us. He would make us fear him so much that if we misbehaved, there would be like, I don't know, the fear would kind of force us in line, even when he wasn't watching, because we were so afraid. But that's not the right kind of morals, that's not the right kind of way to live. You want to have morals because you believe in it and not because you're afraid of the consequences. Like I don't go over there not killing people because I'm afraid I'll go to jail. I don't kill people because I'd feel bad, like that's bullshit. Why would you kill somebody? It's kind of like that. And I think that's the way he did it, and it's wrong because in the end, no one's gonna be around you if all you do is cause fear. The world isn't made to have unlimited amount of rules, because if you have too many rules and for stupid reasons, it's like no one's gonna want to be around, or it's gonna be too stressful. So that's just what I think. That's why I don't really like the Bible. So I don't really agree with it. I think it was just made to force people to have morals. I think the only way around that is what I was talking about. It's like you have to do things, either avoid it, but like I avoid going to the gas station with people around because of my social anxiety, but I will do it late at night. But with other stuff, I need to get more used to people and play a role that I haven't to kind of enhance it. Because I remember when those people at my work area told me I seemed very confident and very assertive, and I played that part and I became that. It felt so good to be that person. Nobody would walk all over me. I remember managers could not tell me, what to do if it was bullshit. Like I would just speak my mind. And I wasn't disrespectful. I just wasn't a pushover. There's a big difference. And that's why it's like, if somebody told you right now, you are the most confident person I've met, and you are a good person, you have a good heart, you would definitely have a better heart. You would definitely see that side of yourself. It's like somebody shining a light to the areas you didn't think you had. And you are encouraging those areas to grow. Anyways, yeah, that's just what I wanted to talk about. Let me know what you guys think. How do what are some things you guys are anxious, like socially anxious about, or anxious in general? And what do you do to kind of deal with it? Let me know if you have any, ideas of how I could deal with mine, other than the things I already mentioned. And let me know if you like this little baby cute microphone and if it's working better. If not, I'll stop using it. But it's super cute. I can give it to Manny or Gwen. They want it. See? They totally want to have it. Okay. Thanks for answering my FaceTime call.